Good morning, St. Francis, and good morning, people of God. It is Wednesday, the 31st day of May, 2023. It is Wednesday of the 8th week of the year, the 8th week in Ordinary Time. But today, we also celebrate especially the Feast of the Visitation of Mary to Elizabeth. Way back when, in March 25th, the Annunciation happens to the Blessed Mother, and as it is recorded in Luke's Gospel, she then makes the journey to visit her kinswoman, her cousin Elizabeth. The Annunciation happens in Nazareth, according to Luke's Gospel. Then Elizabeth and Zechariah lived outside of Jerusalem, since, again, tradition holds that Zechariah was of the high priesthood. And so it's when he is offering sacrifice in the Holy of Holies that he gets the message from Gabriel that Elizabeth's going to bear a child, and then he is struck mute because he doesn't believe it, because he's a man, and those kinds of things like that. So Gabriel, having told Mary of the wondrous things that God does, now basically goes to visit Elizabeth to not only just to care for her, but also then to see also the wonderful thing that has happened to her cousin, to be equally wonderful what has happened to her, and being told she's going to bear the Messiah. Back in Raleigh, now it's back to a gray day, gray kind of misty day. It's going to be a little bit humid and ugly today, but it's still nice to be back. Again, the Francis Garden coming in well. As you can see, if you have not yet come here to take a look at it, please do, because as the summer months begin, it will be a lovely spot to sit, to reflect, to ponder, to rest, to do whatever here in this passageway between the preschool over here on this side, and then the main entrance to the church and Declare Hall over here on this side. It is a quiet day today. It is our final school mass of the year. We will end the academic year on Friday. But preschool has already concluded. Their graduation was last Friday, and so it is the sound of children or anything else like that is kind of absent, noticeably absent this morning, which is kind of sad. And so as we move into the summer months, things begin to change here on the campus of St. Francis. But school, TFS, is still in session. Again, our final liturgy, our final community mass for the year, happening in just a few minutes to celebrate the Visitation. The readings, for today, again, they are an interesting choice of two. The better one is the one to bring, is the one that talks about praising God and rejoicing at God's goodness. Again, we have Mary sort of at the beginning of the week and midweek this year as we move back into ordinary time. The better reading for the first reading is the one about rejoicing in God's love, and of looking to the heavens for what God is going to deliver us, for what God is going to descend or to give to deliver us from those things that stop us from embracing the fullness of our humanity and the fullness of the beauty and wonder of who and what we are. The gospel for today, though, is the most marvelous one of the Magnificat, which is, again, Mary's great hymn of praise to God for what God has done and what God will do with her. Now, again, it's always to remember, and it gets a little bit dicey, within this. It's like motherhood is not as it is today, where it could be anywhere between whatever age in the teens and perhaps up into your 40s. For the ancients, it was perhaps in your early teens. And so again, how old is Mary? 14? Some will go down as far as 12. But it gets very dicey if you take a look at it and trying to consider this by looking at our own children today. So it's always great care needs to be taken with all of this. That she was young, yes. How young is always a question. But regardless of the age that she is, and the age is important, to consider, it is this hymn that comes out of her mouth when she greets Elizabeth that is filled with wonder. Again, the child stirs in Elizabeth's womb, it's John the Baptist, recognizing Jesus, etc., etc. But again, the words that Mary issues are words, again, of radical revolution, are words that upend the status quo, are words that bring down those who are mighty and powerful. And again, there is no distinction made. It is all of those who are mighty and powerful, or who consider themselves mighty and powerful, which could be not just in our society, but also within our church itself. Again, that there is no place for might and power, amongst human beings when God is involved, because God is the one who is the fullness of all might, of all power, of all that directs, of all that orders, of all that guides. But it is Mary, again, who in this great hymn, the Magnificat, basically speaks wondrous things that God will do to send the rich away empty, to raise up those who are bowed down and who are burdened, to fill the bellies of the hungry, and to leave those who have everything with nothing. It is for those in power and for those who are powerful within this world a very terrifying foreshadowing, a very terrifying prediction and prophecy, which no one, again, if they are in power, if they are in control, would ever want to hear or ever want to believe in or want to trust, because it would be the end, the demise of them. And yet, this is what God is doing. This is what God is actually proclaiming. It's a whole reversal of what we as human beings think is proper and wise and right and prudent and virtuous and whatever. It is God who is now saying, I am the one in charge. I've always been the one in charge. And now I am the one who is going to start directing things by intervening in your human history, because you cannot do things on your own. Try as you might, you cannot achieve what you think you can achieve on your own. This is the wonder and the glory of this great speech that Mary gives. And it's something, again, as she visits Elizabeth, strengthens Elizabeth's own resolve that, again, in her advanced age, again, and having a child then is not something that is impossible. It's not something that we basically could never see happen, and we need to think more about those things, about what is possible with God, and to say that things can never happen. If they can happen with our faith in God, then they can happen. Again, another wonderful echo, in these two Marian feasts that we have as we leave the Easter season, moving into ordinary time, of the power and the wonder of God at work in our midst. And may the Lord, St. Francis, and people of God give you his peace.